Hello, fictional. Welcome to the What If Issei. Today we are gonna see, what if Issei is son of Sparda and Eva? Part 5. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Issei was heading to the clubhouse as he was in full gear once more, but he had a different objective in mind. Ever since Riaz had joined his group they have been doing nothing but training, answering contracts, and helping Riaz adjust to her new status as a Nephilim. Now Riaz may have been demoted to a low-class Nephilim, but Issei knew that since Riaz is the only heir to House Gremory, there is a good chance that House Gremory would be a house with Nephilim descendants, instead of devil descendants in the near or far future. Though Issei didn't really care for that, no, what he wanted to do was have everyone take the day off because everyone is getting stressed since Riaz is trying to master her new powers so she can pass off as a devil and avoid a great war. Issei knew her plan would eventually backfire, but it wasn't bad to let her dream for a bit longer. As Issei arrived at the clubhouse he saw the rest of the peerage and his brood here as Murayama looked to her brood king. Issei, you're late, let me guess, needed to find a stylish outfit again? Murayama asked with a smirk as Issei looked to Riaz. Issei, where is Rodin anyway? Riaz asked as Issei knew that was coming. He had some business to take care of, so currently the gate of hell are closed so to speak, and right now as the leader of my brood, I say we are taking the day off. Issei said as everyone was shocked at that. What? They all called as Murayama and Kadis smiled at this. Finally a day off, been wondering if you were actually going to give one. Kadis cheered as Issei smiled. Yeah, so everyone is free to do as they please for today, so no fighting or contracts unless it's an emergency. Issei said as Riaz glared at Issei. Issei, you can't just do that out of the blue. Riaz called as Issei looked. Rodin is out today, what else are we supposed to do, masturbate, read porn, work? Issei asked as Riaz gave him a deadpan look. Besides, I need you, Murayama and Kadis to help me with something involving a certain nun we all know. Issei said as Riaz sighed in annoyance. I'm not going to like this, am I? Riaz looked as Kaneko looked to her, but you. Probably not. Kaneko said as she was already informed about the Asia problem. Scene break that afternoon, Kaneko was right. Riaz said as she and the brood were out on the town, as with them was Asia. Issei was lagging in the back as he had his hands in his pockets while Kadis and Murayama talked with Asia. Issei told them to have a bit of girl time and get to know their possible new ally, but the reason Issei came along was so he can keep his eyes peeled for the rogue fallen angels. As Issei walked with them he saw the smile Asia had while she seemed amazed by this part of Cow City. If anything, it would probably be better if they kept her out of the seedier parts of the city, protect her innocence and all that. But then again, if she joins the brood she's probably going to see some gruesome sights, but hey, he'll cross that bridge when he gets to it. As he whistled to the brood as they looked to him. Hey ladies, before we end up on a shopping trip or hit the arcade, how about some grub? Issei called as he pointed to the hamburger place with his thumb. Later inside, the group was enjoying hamburgers as Issei was enjoying his already while he watched Murayama and Kadis show Asia how to eat it. You're doing it wrong, Asia. Issei finally said as the girls were playing around with Asia as Issei smiled at her. Issei unwrapped the paper foil of his own burger as he looked to Asia. You need to eat it with your hands as so. Issei said before biting into his hamburger, causing Asia to look amazed. Asia, unlike Issei's big bite, tried imitated what Issei did, but with a small bite which she smiled as Asia was amazed at what she tasted. It's delicious. Asia said as Issei smiled. Good, but we're all going to be hanging out today, so think of it as a sort of day off from school hangout. Issei said as Asia smiled. Yeah, after all we also need to get little Miss Sourpuss here to lighten up. Murayama said, pulling Riaz in. Well, I'm already waist deep in this, might as well go all the way. Riaz said as Issei smirked. Now then, let's go enjoy our day. Issei said as he got up as he wanted to stop by an ice cream parlor to get a strawberry sundae. Scene break later at the arcade. The group was hitting the arcade as Issei was at the snack bar, part of it enjoying a strawberry sundae, while trying to spread his obsession with the stuff to Asia, as the girls played a variety of games from racing games, to rhythm games, to even a photo booth. All in all, today was turning out great as they soon hit them all going on a shopping trip as Asia was shown different cloths as Murayama and Kadis tried of different clothing, making sure to keep it off Issei's tab since he was still recovering from his last bout of department. As they enjoyed themselves, Issei knew Asia was still a target with her Twilight healing, and if he reincarnated her as a Nephilim, she will be an even bigger target, but since she would be in the service of two houses which were House Sparda and House Eva, many of the factions won't do anything openly against her. Issei was looking at a weapon shop as Riaz walked over to him as she saw he was deep in thought. You're thinking about reincarnating her, aren't you? Riaz asked as she looked to Issei, who smirked. Who knows, maybe I am and maybe I'm not, don't see why you're concerned. Issei said as Riaz looked. Issei, she's a nun of the church, and if she's with a stray exorcist and the fallen angels, that could mean she was excommunicated, so recruiting her might not draw too much of a problem, but you will have to do it carefully. Riaz said before adding her own wise-ass comment. Also it's my concern seeing as you did reincarnate me as a dark slayer. Riaz said as Issei chuckled. Looks like I'm rubbing off on you. Issei said as Riaz looked. It's a fact I'm not sure I'm proud of yet. Riaz said as Issei chuckled at that one. Issei then turned to the girls as he smiled at them. Hey ladies, let's go, we still have a whole day waiting for us. Issei said as Murayama and Caddis nodded. Humming. They called before the trio went to Issei, no doubt to continue to hang out. Asia walked up to a claw game and looked at the stuffed animals in it, with Issei seeing the non-emotion on her face, with everything still new to her smile to this, and soon he played and got a stuffed animal for Asia, as she took it in her arms as she said, "Thank you, I shall cherish it. Are you going to if it a name?" Murayama asked as Asia took a moment and said, "I don't know, I'll name it later when I can think of a name." No one would argue about that as everyone went on their day, playing games and having fun. If Riaz may not like it so much, but she is enjoy herself very much anyways. Later, the Nephilims and the nun went outside for some fresh air, as everyone got themselves drink from the vending machine and sat down in the park. That was fun, Asia said as Caddis leaned back with her drink and said, the sun is still up so we can have more fun soon enough. Riaz didn't say anything as Issei spoken up saying, I know a few good places to go to later on, let's relax and enjoy the time right now. Murayama looked to her king and said, you're always relaxing, from back then and now. What, I can be serious if I wanted to be, I'm just too lazy to do so, he said as Riaz looked to him and said, that explain a lot. The girls laugh at this as did Asia as she said, everyone here is so friendly and nice, I wish I had this before. Everyone turned to her as Issei said, what having friends, having fun, laughing and stuff. Asia nods and wish she could have happier memories Issei said, with you dealing with the church, you must have had something going on. No, not really, as Asia said in a sad tone as Murayama rubbed her shoulder and said, why not tell us about it, maybe to help you feel better. Asia thought for a moment before nodding and started to tell her story as she started. It all started when I was a baby. I was abandoned by my real parent, they left me in front of a church in a small town in Europe. Flashback, the image of a church with a baby in a basket in front of it crying her eyes out as Asia told her story. They told me when they found me I would not stop crying. The sweet nun there brought me up. The scene change again with Asia now older, kneeling down in front of a hurt puppy as she says, when I was 8, a sad little puppy was hurt, found its way into the church where I lived. I pray very hard to God to spare him, and when I did, a miracle happened. Scene change again with Asia within a different church as she stood in front of many people, as Asia kept telling her story as she said, because of my power, I was immediately taken to a larger church. Men and women from all over would visit me when they were injured or sick, and I was told to heal all of them to the idea I possessed this thing I could help other people make me so happy, I finally felt I had a purpose. The scene change again to outside as Asia founded a man who was hurt as she told what happened, but one day I have founded someone who has fallen and was in bad shape. The scene change right away with mixed scene of happy and no so happy part with people of the church look angry at her and yelling as Asia told what has happened when she found out who the man was as she said, I was able to heal him, but he wasn't a man. This girl has the power to heal devils. A man voice echo in the memory with many others started to yell at her. Demon. She a witch. Burn her. Soon the memory came to an end, as it seemed Asia was bashed because she healed a devil and hated for it. Then flashback, Issei looked to Asia with a neutral look on his face, show he not judging her as did the others, as Asia went on saying, they said anyone with my kind of power was a heinous, so I had no choice but to run away. Issei then sighed as that was the problem with churches in Europe, devils are evil, no ifs ands or buts about it. If anything, Asia made the right call leaving when she did. If you ask me, that devil is probably nearby right now. Issei began as Asia looked. He's probably very grateful for what you did for him, so he's probably waiting for the chance to repay you for saving his life. Issei said as he stood up knowing of the ultimate form of fealty for a devil, which is a devil's arm. For me, we shouldn't worry about the past and keep trudging forward with chin held high, sword drawn and guns blazing, and when you reach the end, then you hit the jackpot. Issei said as he soon felt the air change a bit. Looks like we have company. Issei said as a man in a dark coat appeared as Issei glared at him. So the rumors hold truth and Nephilim does exist. The man said, producing black wings. Great chaos and infernos freeloaders, so what's the deal me, my brood, or Asia? Issei asked as his boosted gear appeared in his arm as did rebellion on his back. For now I'm here for the girl. Luckily our captured ally was released from Nevin's hold and needless to say she was quite livid when she finally returned. The fallen angel said as Issei scoffed. Well, chicken wings, you're outmatched, but if I can grab you I can kick your asses where it hurts. Issei said as he drew ebony and ivory. Don't be so sure of yourself, son of Eva, I hardly came alone. The being said before holy portals appeared and stray angels appeared as Issei looked at them and scoffed. So what, this just makes things way more interesting. Issei said as he smirked. Well then, know my name, for it will be the last you and your brood ever hears. I am Donaseek and I'm going to end the Nephilim rise from the dead. The fallen angel said as the brood got their weapons drawn. "Well, let's rock," Issei said, pointing his guns at Donasek, who took a battle stance with a blue light spear. "Insert Devil May Cry Ost lock and load." Issei charged forward, shooting at the fallen angel, who avoided the bullets by flying upward as Issei growled. Issei was soon attacked from the side, to which he spun around the attack and once behind the stray pulled out his shotgun Revenant and fired at the angel at point-blank range, causing it to be explode in a burst of blood and halos. Issei then switched to his Ophian demon pull and pulled the fallen angel towards him before switching to Eric's and punching the stray square in the face, knocking him back as he screamed in pain with a few lost teeth and a split lip. Issei then switched to Aquila and sent the spinning shurikens at the fallen angel as they began to do some serious harm to him. Issei then switched to Ebony and Ivory and slid on his knees with a spin on the water, shooting the stray angels at him. He then switched to Revenant and used it like an Nunchaku to fire and reload fast. Once he did that, Issei then jumped upward and flipped the air as he used the pistols to fire and multiple strays at once, before doing a corkscrew attack of the same nature, but him pointing up. Issei smirked as knew the girls were handling themselves just fine, he hoped. But Murayama and Caddis backflipped away from a stray angel and brought out Ifrit as they burst in flame, coming to life, as gave each stray angel gotten 1-2 punch with an uppercut or flaming punch to their guts, sending them flying with their halo being left behind. Angels came up from behind her as Caddis backflip away and on top of one of them, as her feet glow white for a moment to show off her angel weapon, Pegasus Greaves. Pick herself off the angel and it exploded from the force of it. As Caddis landed, she kicked left and right at the other two angel, causing them damage and punch one down hard and the other a shoryuken with Ifrit as it burst into flames. More stray angels surround her and started to bash and kick them around as they're beaten down with their blood and halo litter the ground around her. Caddis took a stand with both of her weapon out as she said, "I'm on fire, bitches." Murayama slid across the ground with her devil weapon Alistair out as lightning dance across the blade as she slash and strike any stray angel came at her and at great speed that may be as fast as lightning. But other angels some hover in the sky and shot down at the sword girl, keeping on her feet as Murayama dodged them as she said, "Annoying." Using her free hand and reach out from behind as a white blow show as she pull out her angel weapon Gunsword Rakari as she took and fire upon the angels in the air and at supersonic speeds, she zooms around shooting and slicing up angels. When Murayama stopped for a moment, all the stray angels around has lightning dancing around their bodies as they twitch and spaz out, soon exploded in blood and halos as Murayama shoulder one of her weapon as she said, "Not even a challenge." Briaz was taking advantage of her skills as this brood's Dark Slayer as she used her quad gun style to shoot at multiple devils at once. But for Riaz this felt familiar, like she had fought like this in another life. Riaz quickly banished the thought and continued her assault. Riaz, though a Nephilim now, was still the ruined princess and she would show them why you never fuck with her. Riaz charged her ruined power into her guns and fired, causing the stray angels hit by them to go up in an explosion of blood and light as she was mowing down her opponents. Riaz then switched to the katana and began doing quickly and clean slashes to the angels who attack her, even though Riaz still questions why her shoes turned to heels. Riaz soon finished the last of the foes as she smirked at this, as her eyes seemed to glow with a phantom appearing behind her sharing the second pose and smirk. Foreshadowing. But Asia saw all this as she was shocked, wondering if an angel gave into hatred, did they become these abominations? It wasn't long before a gold glow appeared behind her as she looked and was wide-eyed as a first sphere stray grabbed her, causing her to scream. And Issei heard the scream, as did the rest of the brood as they looked and saw a stray angel had grabbed Asia. Issei called, but before he could act anew, or in this case a new set of strays appeared as they looked like target practice to him, like the Bathis. Insert Bayonetta Ost Angel Advent 3. This angel was clearly a third sphere, which means cannon fodder, as Riaz regrouped with Issei as he saw this stray angel. This was a third sphere deer and decorations angel, and they began to charge energy and fire it at the group. And Ost, ladies, go for the decorations, once they're gone the deer will be wide open. Issei called as the girl nodded and went to carry out the plan. On it. Murayama called as she began firing at the decorations with Issei and Riaz helping before Caddis charged forward. Caddis grabbed 2 decorations and with the infernal power of Ifrit began to burn the 2 in her hands alive as they struggled to get free from the searing pain. Caddis then smashed the 2 together, causing them to explode as blood, fire, ash, and halos came out as Caddis smiled. Issei then used his Ophian demon pull and pulled the decorations out before slicing it in 2, as soon only the deer was left. Issei then charged forward before slicing the deer in 2, as it then exploded like as Issei then charged forward to where the stray angel had taken Asia, only to see the plush and her veil there. Issei gritted his teeth as he then looked and saw Donasek was gone as well as Issei, then roared loudly as he was pissed. Oh crap. Caddis said as there were very few times she had ever seen Issei so pissed off before. Those fallen chicken wings are screwed. Murayama said as Issei looked to Riaz. Ria's opened a portal to the clubhouse, hopefully the special order I sent over for Rodin is ready. Issei said as Ria's nodded and opened the portal. How do you know he will appear? Ria's asked as the Nephilim gate opened. Because I'm so far his only supplier for red orbs and halos. Issei said as they soon stepped into the gate to head to the orc room. Meanwhile, while all this was happening, a young girl with two tails and glasses was walking down the street in her normal clothes as she had received a letter from a secret admirer to meet him or her here. This girl was Aika Kiryu, and she was a classmate of Issei as she was told to meet him or her at the park. As she waited, she took out her phone as it had memos as notes of what she had gathered on Issei's prowess so far, and even though she could accurately guess the size of every man she meets, she cannot guess Issei's size. She knows he's a guy since even cross-dressers can't escape her eye of what they got between their legs and how big it is. As Aika waited though, she soon saw someone approaching as she looked to be some sort of part-time worker at a French-made cafe before she arrived at Aika, and then Aika soon felt a pain in her stomach as she felt the air leave her as she looked shocked and looked to the French maid. Sorry little girl, but you have something inside you we have to remove from you, nothing personal, but that little sacred gear is too deadly in your hands, especially if you get recruited into the resurrecting Nephilim faction. She said as Aika soon lost consciousness as she saw black wings just before she had blacked out. Back at the clubhouse, Issei arrived at the clubhouse to see that Rodin and Ria's peerage minus Akeno was waiting there as Rodin was holding two items in his hands. Issei, glad to see you made it. Rodin said as Issei looked. Hey Rodin, is the special order I made ready yet? Issei asked as Rodin gave the staff item to Issei as it was clearly magic based as judging by the angel and devil wing on the tip, this was the neutral form. I call that little magic staff Linafea unicorn, long story short, it's the weapon perfect for Asia, plus with the devil hanging around her 24/7, she has a demon form for that bad boy on the way. Rodin said as he took out a cigar and lit it. But that's just one part, see I came back from a meeting with Azazel telling him how some fallen angels attacked you and Asia under his orders, he told me their orders were just to observe you, Asia, and a third person a classmate named Aika, and by the looks of it, Rainer didn't listen. Rodin said as Issei was putting the pieces together. So they're going to take Asia's sacred gear huh, so Rainer can have Azazel look solely upon her. Issei said as he saw when someone was using love as an excuse to do what they want. Exactly, anyway they already snagged that Aika chick, if I had to guess they are going to try and seal away her sacred gear or take it for their own use, hers is a very valuable one, a combination gear that can take two separate gears and meld them into a combination to utilize both gears. Rodin said before passing the second item to Issei, which were revealed to be gloves. That right there is the lost epitaph, it's a chainsaw claymore type weapon and trust me when I say it's perfect for one such as her, since it's capable of channeling and utilizing powers from any source the holder currently has at his or her disposal, one of my crowning works if I do say so myself. Rodin said as Issei smirked. Okay then guys, here's the plan, they're probably expecting us so we'll go in that church guns blazing and fight our way to Asia and Aika. Any questions? Issei asked as that plan was straightforward with no pre-preparation figured out. Yeah, where's the plan? Ria's asked as her left eye twitched in annoyance as she saw that was not a plan. I just told you. Issei said, shocking everyone. Issei, let me make this as perfectly clear as possible. As far as any of the fallen angels are concerned, I'm still a pure-blooded devil, so if a pure-blooded devil enters their base, a church, and starts tearing shit apart, then you can be sure they will make a fuss over it, and furthermore, the angels in Paradiso and the fallen angels in Inferno and Chaos will start causing a big fuss about it also. Ria said as she tried to get Issei to think of a plan. Well, whatever, bottom line, we're going to be rescuing Asia, but let's make it more interesting, shall we? Issei said as soon he grabbed Kabli loaded with a special shot and fired it out the window, and soon once it hit a target in the distance a string of curses was heard outside as Issei smiled. There now they know a Nephilim brood and a few devils under their command is on their way to take back their hostages. Issei said with a smirk on his face as Ria's face palmed himself just as Akeno walked in. Did I miss something? Akeno asked as she was going to report about the fallen angel spy. Oh, and Ria's, we get free reign here since the fallen angels are trespassing on your turf and most of all, they are acting against the Grigori, basically making them strays. So I think the Grigori will sweep this under a rug, don't you? Issei asked as Rodin chuckled. He's not wrong, basically speaking, if you play this right you won't be breaking any laws. Rodin said as Ria sighed in frustration. Akeno. Ria's began as she prepared to open a Nephilim gate. Yeah? Akeno asked as she looked to Ria's. Open a portal for Kiba and Kaneko, apparently we're saving a nun and a classmate of Issei's. Ria said as she sighed in frustration. Of course, but the spy we caught, it seems Issei let her escape. Akeno said as she no longer sensed the fallen angel. Because Issei wants to make this more difficult for us. Ria said, frustrated as she knew Issei must have some sort of plan, right? Alright then ladies and germs, let's go. Issei called as the portals were soon opened. Issei pre-mission ritual. Kata said as Issei smirked as he slapped his forehead. Oh, how can I forget? Issei said as Riaz was confused. Okay, so for a let's rock thing I say I punch open the doors before switching to ebony and ivory and we strike a pose. Issei said as Riaz was wide-eyed at Issei talking about that as was with her peerage. What? Riaz asked as Kaneko even stopped eating when she heard this. It's kind of a style points thing for Issei. He tends to grade himself on stuff like this, with SSS being the highest and D being the lowest. Rodin explained as Issei grinned. Plus it also helps a Nephilim rise through the ranks, so the higher a mission score is the more points you get for rank promotion. Issei said as that actually made sense. Now then everyone let's rock. Issei said as it was time to hunt as he allowed his coat to flutter with his brood following close behind. Scene break later that night the church. Aika came to as she looked around and noticed something. She was on some sort of altar restrained as standing before he was the fallen angel from before as Aika was confused. Where am I? She asked trying to make heads and tails of this. Oh don't worry it won't matter pretty soon. The fallen angel dressed like a gothic Lolita said as Aika was confused. Because you will be dead pretty soon, with the Nephilim's return being fact we can't afford for you to join them, you're just too dangerous. She said as she began summoning a spear of light. So little pervert girl any last words? She asked as Aika was shocked, especially when black wings appeared on her back. I thought not. She said as she was ready to end Aika. Someone help me. Aika thought as she was about to die and without losing her virginity to boot. Life officially sucks and still she has yet to figure out Issei's eyes. Church entrance hall. The fallen angels and stray exorcists were ready for the worse as they were already told that the Nephilim and his brood as well as the devil's peerage were coming to them. They knew that Issei had let her escape on purpose, no doubt trying to get a kick out of fighting. That actually had them worried because they have heard that Nephilim are practically invincible, for they have the strengths of both halves, but none of the weaknesses. So whatever advantages the church provided them was not restricted only to them. As they waited with weapons at the door, they knew it was only a matter of time before the son of Sparda and Eva appeared through those doors. It was soon that a boom was heard as they all looked and say the door had been hit as they were ready. It was then to their shock that the large church doors came flying off their hinges as they came towards many of them as they saw Issei with Eric summoned as behind them were the defeated enemies. As the two walked in Issei drew rebellion and charged forward as the rest of his brood followed close behind as they began taking down every stray they come across as soon three familiar faces appeared. Great the kidnapper, the would-be slutty assassin, and a gothic Lolita, let me guess you punks want a piece of me? Issei asked as they forced the others to retreat. Why it's so mainly to pay you back for forcing me to do such perverse things, especially with Nevan and her succubus friends. Kalorina roared as she was really pissed off. Lady you haven't seen Nevan when she really wants to play with someone sexually. Issei said not bothered that three fallen angels were ready to kill them. Oh it's you the shitty Nephilim son of a whore. Came the voice of a stray exorcist as Issei looked and saw to his annoyance freed as he walked out from the side. I have to say looks like God is shining down on me to let me have a second go take out a Nephilim and a shitload of devils while I'm at it. Especially since it would fix my record of devils who managed to escape me and add to my kill record the last male Nephilim in the world. Freed called out insanely as Issei yawned clearly not amused. Yeah, Freed was it? Sorry I kind of forgot all about you, you weren't on my blip of targets to take down, but I did check with a reliable source, you're a wanted man Freed, and my source is paying a shit ton for you to be brought in alive, but bringing you in dead was optional, just the reward is cut back some. Issei said as Freed glared. And what shitty devil would put a reward on my head? Freed taunted as Issei scoffed. Oh a certain triple agent of the Great Wars and one of the Grigori's leaders rode in especially when he had informed Azrael of your shit here. Issei said as the fallen angels were shocked at this. So we can do this the easy way, which is you guys flocking off and running for the rest of eternity or you stay and I tear you assholes limb from limb before sending you over to Rodin and Azrael and get my reward. Issei said as the three fallen angels cursed. Okay here's the game plan, Riaz, Akeno, Murayama and Caddis you four take on chicken wings. Kaneko and Kiba you guys clear me a path through Freed to get to the two hostages here. Issei said as he smirked to them. Besides these chumps aren't much of a match for a combined forces of the Nephilim brood and a devil peerage. Issei said with a hint of encouragement, basically telling his brood and Ria's peerage to fight side by side. Alright you pieces of rat shit I'll fucking murder each of you and face fuck your unholy devil sperm made decapitated heads. Freed roared at the group as Issei pulled out ebony and ivory as he made a bring it on gesture with guns in hand. And get it then. Issei said as he was ready to kick ass. Freed and the three fallen angels charged at the group as Issei lead the charge against Freed with Kiba and Kaneko followed as Riaz lead the charge against the three fallen angels. Issei already knew Freed's tactics and known as a faithful exorcist, he would never sully his name more than it is to use dark weapons. which gave Issei and Kiba the edge in this fight, as Kiba could summon a dark sword to eat the light, and whatever light attack Fried sends at him won't do much, but just sting for a bit. Issei sidestepped away from Fried's slash as Kiba came up with his own sword and slashed at Fried. Fried responded by clashing his lightsaber with Kiba's, as Issei then fired at Fried with ebony and ivory, causing Fried to step back, allowing Kiba to strike at him. Fried held his chest as it bled as he gave a psychotic glare at Kiba and Issei. "Come on, you pieces of shit, devils and whores, son, show me what you fucking got." Fried called out as Issei then sent his angel pole at Fried before coming at him, and with Osiris lashed through him before switching to Eric's and punching the man in the back right at his spine, as Fried cried out as he was sent flying at Kiba. Kiba switched his weapon to its dark blade mode and devoured the light of Fried's sword, as Issei tweeted to that. "Wow, that's some sacred gear you got there, sword birthright." Issei asked, knowing a gear like that was pretty strong. "I won't let you devil fuckers allow your unholy power to defeat me." Fried called as Issei then smirked. "Okay, let's rectify that, shall we?" Issei said before switching to Aquila and throw the shurikens at Fried, who was then getting sliced up by angelic power before Issei came in and with rebellion slashed at him, creating a gash. "Damn you, I let you guys run off for now, but next time you cunt fuckers are dead." Fried called before escaping as he was trying to seem strong with his run and live to fight another day. "You be, and when we do meet again, give my regards to Inferno when you see it." Issei called as Fried escaped. Issei then turned to the fallen angels that his brood was fighting and saw they were doing quite well, as it seems the training Riaz was undergoing had paid off. Riaz was firing with all 4 guns at the fallen angels, who sent spears of light at the brood and peerage combo, as Issei sighed. "Hey ladies, think you can handle things here?" Issei called as Caddis smiled. "Don't worry boss, we got it covered here." Caddis called as she had a fallen angel by the neck before punching it. "Got it? Oh, and be sure to give them a chance to walk away, you know our rule." Issei called as he then ran over to the altar while the girls fought. "There should be a door underneath it." Kiba said as Issei saw a red glow on the altar as he smiled. "Thanks." Issei said before switching to Eric's. Issei got ready before he punched the altar hard, causing it to go flying and hit the wall hard where it got destroyed into splinters. "Let's go, the main party is just down here." Issei called as he ran down the stairs. Addis and Murayama then looked at each other and smiled as both knew what the other was thinking. "Should we trigger?" Murayama asked as the fallen angels heard this and were shocked. Did she just say trigger? Issei asked as he heard that phrase during the Great War. "Trigger?" The fallen angel Lolita asked as she looked to the older man. "Basically they can unlock their inner devils and angels. It was said that the Nephilim had among the strongest of triggers among the Trinity that when fully unleashed, gave them the powers of a Longinus to slay gods." Calwerner said as the Lolita middle knew how the trigger exceeds the power of a balance break, and if a Nephilim's trigger allows them to kill gods, then they should probably run. "Riaz and Akeno leave the rest to us, alright." Murayama said as she shouldered Alistair. "We need to run." Issei called out as he knew the power they were summoning, but it was too late. Murayama and Caddis released twin roars as the world soon burst as it became white, as their Nephilim stones began to glow with their clothing reflecting the color, as well as their eyes and veins. Addis's weapons soon released large amounts of demonic and angelic power, as Ifrit looked more like dragon heads made of infernal flames, while Pegasus looked more like a Pegasus head made of frozen heavenly power. Murayama though was different as she now had 2 thunder Chinese dragons flying around here, as they seemed to move to whatever her weapons would move. "Now let's rock." Murayama and Caddis called out ready to fight. But Issei, Kaneko, and Kiba, the 2 ran down the hall as they were lucky to be met with very few opposition. But this was making Issei stir crayon on edge. Why did they go through the trouble of trying to stop them if they didn't guard this hall, unless they trying to stall them? It seems though Issei's train of thought was proven right as 2 screams were heard causing Issei to go wide-eyed at this as he began running faster with Kiba close on his tail, followed by Kaneko. Issei soon arrived as he was wide-eyed as he saw Aika was on the floor bleeding out from a serious injury as she was wide-eyed from it. Issei though was more shocked that the current screaming was coming from Asia as she was stripped of her nun outfit and bound in chains to a cross as Raynor looked to him. "Well, look who finally showed up." Raynor said as she was no longer scared of Issei, not when she was so close to having what she desired. "Asia?" Issei called as he was wide-eyed as all he had to do was put red hair on Asia and it was basically watching his own mother die all over again. "Let her go." Issei demanded as he wasn't going to let Raynor to take Asia's sacred gear. But when Issei tried to get through he was blocked by stray exorcists as soon he felt Aika grab her leg. Issei looked at her as Aika was on death's doorstep. "Please help her." Aika begged as Issei then kneeled to her and took out a green star from his person. "The Vitality Star." Kiba said recognizing it as a devil's instant heal used during battle. Issei then took Aika's hand and put the star into it before he used her hand to crush the star as the injuries healed, but since it was a light spear that stabbed her, the star couldn't do a full heal to her and prolonged the inevitable. Don't worry, I'll save you both. Issei said as he then looked to Rainer as his eyes were no glowing red, showing his devil side was pissed. Rainer? Issei roared as he then charged forward, but the stray exorcist stood in his path as Rainer glared. Keep the Nephilim and the devils busy till I finish the ritual. Rainer called as she did flinch when Issei tried to charge at her, showing her fear of him still stood strong in her heart. Like hell. Issei roared as he began slashing and firing through the stray exorcists. Issei sent blade attacks at them as he slashed and cut through. Normally Issei avoids killing humans, but that's only if they were caught in the crossfire of his hunts by accident, much like the two prisoned members of his brood upstairs. Issei shot at them as even with how pissed he was he still managed to be stylish with his combat style. Hineko sent a punch at one sending him flying as she then kicked another one, sending that one flying as well as she aimed for his head knocking him out. Issei used his assortment of weapons stored with Rebellion as he sent punches with Eryx, created shockwaves with Arbiter, took care of large groups of opponents with Osiris, and shredded many opponents with Aquila. As Issei fought he could hear Asia screaming as he fought his way through the enemies he faced. He knew what would happen if someone was stripped of their sacred gear, they'd die. Issei didn't need any more deaths of innocent people on his hands, as he had already seen one person die in his arms, while nearly seeing two more. Issei remembered that day, the day his mother was murdered. Devils of his father's past, stray devils, anti-Sparda factions, and stray angels who despised his mother, all arrived to kill her. Issei was there, he and his twin were there, and they saw it all. Their mother had her heart ripped out, ensuring instant death. But his brother in a revenge-driven anger awoke in his sacred gear and with Yamato and his trigger wiped out those enemies before stumbling away with a lust for power. Issei was there as he picked up his mother, as his small stature wouldn't allow one his size to do so, but he had his father's strength. His mother, she was holding her sword, the one she always used to protect them, and simply smiled at him and she told him be strong. She also told him two pieces of advice if he walks down the path of vengeance or rebuilding the Nephilim. Devils never cry and angels never scream, and those were words he had lived by, but also left to wonder what that meant for Nephilim. Issei though was fully intent on taking down Rainer and saving Asia, as she was practically having her heart ripped out in his eyes. But soon the screaming was met with silence, as Issei was wide-eyed as he looked and saw Asia's eyes dull, while a green glow arrived to Rainer's hands. At last the power I sought after for years is mine. The Twilight healing. Rainer called out as she then brought the Twilight healing into her own body, as she moaned at the feeling before her body began to glow green. At last I'll be beloved, I'll be the most powerful fallen angel there is, and not even a son of Sparda or Eva can challenge me. Rainer called as Issei glared at Rainer. All those pricks who screwed me over are going to regret it. Rainer called as Issei's eyes began to glow red. No, Issei said as his voice seemed become more demonic as he glared at Rainer, who turned to him. The one who's about to be feeling regret is you, Rainer. Issei roared as he used the Ophian devil mode to pull Rainer towards him, before he switched to Eryx and punched her square in the face, surprising her as she went flying to the stairs where she made a crater. As long as you have some money you can heal yourself with that stolen gear, right? Good, then heal yourself, bitch, so I beat you down again. Issei roared as Rainer felt it. Issei was pissed as he then began slashing at her, causing her great pain, as he then shot at her with ebony and ivory. Rainer then saw Issei had stopped as he glared at her. Go on, heal yourself or I'm just going to make it worse for you. Issei threatened as Rainer saw his eyes were glowing red as his wings appeared on his back. The wing of a devil and a wing of an angel. Issei was the offspring of two warring factions and as of his birth, the last of his kind. Rainer quickly tried flying away so she can heal herself as she used Twilight healing to its fullest, but once she was all healed, she soon felt the demon pull wrap around her leg as she looked and saw Issei pull her back down, slamming her onto the ground before swinging her to her cohorts as Rainer was wide-eyed and screaming. Issei then switched to Aquila and threw the angelic weapons at her, causing them to split apart and attack her from multiple angles before returning to Issei. Rainer then saw Issei switch to Arbiter as he slammed the demon axe to the ground, sending it towards Rainer as she was hit by the weapon, knocking her back as she was wide-eyed at what was happening. I should have been powerful, why is he still winning? Rainer thought frantically as she tried to get away. Issei didn't let her as he used the angel pull and went towards Rainer with Osiris, which he used to slice her up as he then went for his shredder attack as Rainer was now bleed profoundly. I can't beat him, I can't. Rainer thought frantically as she needed an escape while she continued to heal herself. What's wrong, you look scared? Issei taunted as he held Rebellion in his hand. Must be scary when your target can still kill you even with that healing power. Issei said. He glared down on Rainer. No, please somebody help. Azazel-sama. Rainer called frantically as she hoped Azazel was listening as Issei then stopped. Wait, you called the head of the fallen angels Azazel-sama? Issei asked as he was now confused. Wait, didn't he order Rainer to simply watch me, Asia, and Ika? Issei thought as he looked to Rainer, who was now at a corner shaking violently as she was scared. Rainer? Issei began as he put Rebellion away, allowing it to vanish. Why did you disobey Azazel when he told you to simply watch us? Issei asked as Rainer gulped. He was looking at others instead of me. Rainer said as Issei got the message. I get it, jealousy adding to the fact you loved Azazel. Issei said as he sighed. Idiot, you could have tried to old-fashioned way of getting his affection, but now thanks to this stunt, he'll never fall for you. In fact you and your 3 friends topside are probably now fugitives of the Grigori. Issei said as Rainer was shocked. Now I'm going to give you 2 options. Keep the healing ability and I kill you where you stand, or you return the Twilight healing to Asia, and I look the other way allowing you and your friend to get away. Issei said as he glared at Rainer. So which will it be? Issei asked as Rainer looked before flying over to Asia, and once her hands glowed green, she put the light back into Asia, returning her sacred gear to her. Good choice, now get out of here and never show your face to me again. Issei said as he looked away from Rainer. Issei-san. Rainer began as she wanted to at least thank him for sparing her, but instead Issei pulled Ebony at her. Don't come any closer. He roared in fury as he pointed his gun at Rainer. You may be a fallen angel, and I may be letting you and your friends go, but to my eyes you're just another devil scum. Issei roared as he glared at Rainer who now looked guilty. Rainer then spread her wings and flew away through a portal as she had to pick up her allies as well. Issei then walked over to Aika who was barely breathing as he picked her up and grabbed Issei before laying them next to each other. I'm so sorry. Issei said as he failed 2 more people. If only I could have shown you light. Issei roared to the heavens as tears fell down his face. Damn it God, why does all the Nephilim and those who birth them have to suffer like this? Do you really hate us that much? Issei roared as he had needed answers. He needed a sign, he just needed some way to know that all his struggles wasn't for nothing. In Paradiso, Michael saw it and felt it, he had heard of Eva's son, in fact he was part of the ones who helped Eva kill God. Michael did it under God's will, and he had seen the tears Eva had shed and the screams she yelled with what she had done. Eva the angel who screamed in remorse and sorrow for the sin she had been forced to commit, so future generations of Nephilim may be able to flourish. Michael had watched over Eva and her former sacred saints and saw how the saints were using Issei to keep themselves in check. Michael knew they were becoming stray sand, they kept their sacred cards at bay to serve under Eva's last heirs long enough to prepare them. In fact Michael only saw Issei with nothing but respect and had seen how he wished to continue his mother's dream of a revived Nephilim. Michael saw what he needed to do as he knew only one way to save those 2 girls' lives, and that way is for him to reincarnate them into his brood. Eva, wherever you are watching, I pray that you see your son and see how strong he is becoming. Michael said as he made it happen. But Issei saw a mirror shining in his eyes as he looked and saw how it was reflecting his Nephilim stone. The source of his trigger and much of his power as he realized what he needed to do. Issei? Kiba asked as he looked to the Brood King. I got this. Issei said, wiping away tears from his eyes. Issei then reached for his chest as he looked to the 2 girls. Asia, Aika, you 2 have your whole lives ahead of you. Aika, you were one of the first few female friends I made in Cow Academy, and I cherished our friendship and the fact you keep trying to get into my pants. Asia, you are an innocent soul who only did what you thought was right. So I'll reward both of you with a new life, a second chance. Issei said as he pulled from his chest 2 orbs that looked like a dragon's eye. Of course one of them went to Issei's left hand as Issei saw it was 4 trickster pieces condensed into one. Asia, rise once more as my Quicksilver and my trickster. Issei said as he placed the spheres into their chests as once it was there the spheres were absorbed, leaving behind an emerald green stone for Asia as her Twilight healing was returned and a topaz yellow stone for Aika. It's done. Issei said as he took out the staff and gave it to Asia as the staff was soon absorbed into her right arm as a tattoo, for it appeared on said arm trailing to her back. Issei did the same with Lost Epitaph as the weapon was accepted as well as now they both had a weapon. Hey devil hovering over Asia. Issei called as no one answered except for a cold wind. If you want to serve Asia and repay her for what she did for you, I suggest you see Rodin at the gate of hell, he can probably help you with the whole devil arms you wish to become. Issei said as the wind blew again as it was a cold wind, but it held the answer as it vanished. There was a devil tailing us? Kaneko asked as Issei smiled. Nope, just Asia to repay a debt from long ago. Issei said as that was cryptic to those who weren't aware. But the girls, the fallen angels, were catching their breaths as they were outclassed by the Nephilim and devil against them. Shit, what do we do? Donasik asked as he looked to this situation. No clue, the Nephilim in their group are immune to light attacks. Kalwariner said as she cursed. How about you assholes leave before the Grigori come looking? Caddis called as she glared at them. Why don't you go fuck yourselves? Miltold called out, but even she was sacred knowing they were no match at the moment. No, how about we run? Came the voice of Rainer as she looked to her allies. Bad news, I couldn't get the sacred gear, I had it but was forced to return it. Rainer said as she landed. We need to run, the Grigori are on their way here right now. Rainer said as the 3 were shocked. I'm sorry guys, but we have no other choice. Rainer said as Donasik understood while Kalwerner cursed. You win today, chances are you won't ever see us ever again. Kalwerner said, knowing that if Rainer said they lost then they had in fact lost. Damn. Miltold cursed as the four then opened portals and escaped. Well, looks like we won, huh? Riaz asked as she sat down as the elven knights were on the floor next to her as she needed a break. Let's go meet up with the boss, can't let him have all the glory. Murayama said as the four headed down the steps. Later at the bottom, the four arrived to see Issei helping Asia up as she held her head in pain and looked to Issei. Issei, you came. Asia said as Issei smirked. Yeah, I did, Asia, though I did make you a Nephilim to save your life, sorry I did it without your consent. Issei said as Asia smiled. It's no worries, Issei, I'm just glad you're okay. Asia said with a smile on her face. Yeah. Issei said before he was wide-eyed as he felt a hand on his crotch. Aika, let go of my junk. Issei said as Aika opened her eye and had a cat-like smile on her face. Oh sorry, but I think I just figured out your size and my word you are packing some guns there. Aika flirted as Issei then got up and looked to Riaz. Well Riaz, I hope you can take care of Asia and Aika because as of now you are their senpai. Issei said as Riaz was surprised at that. Wait, you mean there? Riaz began as Issei nodded. Alright, more Nephilim for the long-term goal. We just need guys in the brood now. Caddis cheered as Murayama laughed. Yeah, but let's have our welcoming party for them tomorrow, okay? I think we can all agree we've had a long night. Issei said as everyone agreed on that. Meanwhile with the fallen angels, the four portals appeared as the four appeared in their designated escape spot as they looked around. Great, here we are stuck at fugitives all because we didn't pull out while we had the chance. Miltold said as Kalwerner shook her coat a bit to air out her breasts a bit. We are officially at rock bottom with no way out. Donasik said as he removed his hat. The only way we can be free to roam is if we got recruited into another faction. Kalwerner said, finishing with airing out her breasts a bit. Soon a blue ethereal sword landed near them, causing them to be on guard as soon as Sage Seal appeared and fired energy blasts at them as they saw they were imbued with both angelic and demonic power. Soon an energy sword slash came at the Rainer and Kalwerner as the two quickly jumped out of the way. Who's attacking us? Did the Grigori already send hunters? Donasik asked as he was on guard. Then the magic bolt attacked as they had to block it with their own magic before finishing the set was what looked like a martial artist from China as he used his staff to attack them before they jumped away. Well, looks like dear old Kisk was right about the May Arthur. The monkey-like fighter said as Rainer was shocked. Wait, you're Biku. Rainer said as soon Arthur the sword wielder appeared as it looked like he was wielding an Excalibur. Seems that way. Arthur said as next to him was a witch-looking girl. Wow, seems they caught the white dragon's eye for good reason, brother. The girl said as she looked to Arthur. That they have Lefei and Kuroko. Arthur said as they made a good call coming to Japan. Good thing we tested them, otherwise we might have ended up with 4 less shards. Kuroko said as she walked in a sensual way to them. Wait, white dragon? Kalwerner asked as soon they saw a light shine down in blue as they looked to the moon to see a scale mail as it had 2 sets of wings, 2 blue energy wings from armor and a pair of demon and angel wings. It came down as they saw the katana weapon he wielded as the 4 were shocked. Wait, that sword, the sword wielded by Sparda himself, the Yamato. Rainer called as she was now worried. That means you are. Rainer began as soon the armor vanished to reveal a young man in a black 2-railed coat with blue regal design on it as you could see his slick back white hair and the fingerless gloves that held the Yamato. That is correct. The man said as he looked to the 4 rogues with a cold glare. And I am here because I have a proposition for you 4. Kisk said as he looked at them. As for my name, I am the son of Sparda and Eva the Nephilim known as Kisk Virgil Sparda. Kisk said as he glared at the 4 as they knew one thing. They had just got real lucky to find the other Nephilim as they may very well be untouchable by the other factions now. And that proposition? Donasik asked as Kisk looked. How would you 4 like to become Nephilim in the brood led by the White Dragon Emperor? Kisk asked as the wings saw this. Seems you may have broken them a bit, Kisk. Albion said as the energy wings flashed with each word and syllable. End of the here. So that's it for today's video, guys. Before you go, just like the video and share it with your friends. Bye.